Okay, should be coming on any moment.
Hello, and welcome everyone. Welcome to our December 2022 Path of a Magdalena program. And for anyone who is joining us for the first time, the Path of a Magdalena program is a year-long gifted program that includes some really fantastic content. So through this program, we are exploring and cultivating and figuring out these different qualities that Mary Magdalena embodied. So through each month, we'll have an interview with a Magdalena practitioner that's sent out via email. And we have a live event like the one we're having today, where we talk to different Magdalena practitioners about this quality. And then we have some really fantastic content on our social media throughout each month, specifically related to that quality. So this month, we are looking at the quality of tenderness. So we're in the midst of the holiday season, and we're really taking a deep dive into tenderness. And so today I have a really fantastic panel that I'd like to introduce. These are all Magdalenas and Magdalena practitioners, and we are going to discuss what this quality is for us and how cultivating it. So first we have Lisa Guinan, and she is from the west of Ireland, but actually today in Florida. And we have Chris Kearns, who is also joining us today from the Clearwater, Florida area. We have Dale, who is joining us from New York. I think, is that considered upstate New York, Dale, where you're from? Yeah, okay. And then Denise is joining us also from upstate New York, from Syracuse. So I want to thank you all so much for joining us for this tenderness discussion today. So I'll start by, actually, I have a question. If you're watching, whether it be live or you're watching afterwards, throw in the chat where you're from. We'd love to know more about the people that are watching and enjoying these videos. So let us know. And for the panel, so to start us off on tenderness, I'm wondering how you describe tenderness, or how do you experience tenderness?
I can start there, Cara.
Great.
I think tenderness is really one of those qualities. It's just so beautiful to be in it, and it's so in the heart, and like there's such a softness around it. It's like when I'm in a state of tenderness, I don't have any of my walls of protection up. I've just let them all fall away. And there's this like melting. It's like a soft melting, like for me, really like newborn babies bringing out of me. And I just feel myself just like dissolving, like literally all the boundaries, everything just dissolving and into this really beautiful, soft liquid state that's like full of vulnerability and simplicity and connection and a beauty. There's like, it's really like in the core, there's this real unfolding beauty that just opens up. It's beautiful. I love it.
Well, I can add to that and just reiterate a lot of what Lisa said. It's that melting, that softness. There's a real purity to gentleness, I think. You know, it just takes you into that place of simplicity and purity and the vulnerability of it, the authenticity of the vulnerability of tenderness when I'm experiencing tenderness.
Yeah, and for anyone watching live, I wonder if, or watching the video, I wonder if you experienced any of that tenderness through just the sharing of Lisa and Dale. When they were sharing, I just kind of like started melting over here a little bit. Okay, so also I'm wondering, I'd love to hear more about your experience with tenderness. Like, can you share a time in your life when you experienced tenderness from another, or you offered tenderness to someone else, and what that was like for you?
I I could share. This was actually very recently. There's a little backstory. So my husband is working on a man cave and in the house, and he ordered this couch. And we really worked hard on the measurement. Well, he said he worked hard on the measurements to get this couch in. Everything was going to be fine. And I wasn't really sure about it, but he went and he ordered it and he got the couch in. My son-in-law came over, tried to help him move the couch in, and I could hear not great words going on downstairs. It wasn't fitting. And I could feel myself as I'm recognizing that this couch that my husband promised he had gotten the measurements for was going to fit, was going to work. I could feel myself starting to get agitated. And so I'm sitting in the same chair where I actually am right now. And my son-in-law left, and I could feel my husband went, and he was sitting in the living room. But the other part of this is he had also lost his father a couple of weeks before. So I could feel myself wanting to go in and just kind of let him have it. Like, I can't believe you did this. And all of a sudden, I felt this, you can't do that. You cannot do that. You know how much having this couch and having this room meant to him. You can't do that. You're going to need to activate tenderness. It didn't come. It wasn't there. I didn't feel it initially, but I sat here and I just prayed and I centered myself and I just asked that I would really feel tenderness for my husband, the situation, and what was happening. So I got up and I walked in the other room and I sat next to him, and he thought he expected me to come in and kind of let him have it, I think. And he kind of looked at me and I just took his hand and I said, honey, I'm so sorry. I know how much you were looking forward to having this couch in this space. And I'm so sorry that it didn't work out for you. And he just looked at me and his eyes got all watery and stuff. And then he just began to weep. What had happened is he hadn't been able to cry about his dad, but because I was able to go in and activate the tenderness and be with him in the space of the one thing, he was able to really reach his heart to be able to cry about something that was much bigger than what this whole couch thing was. And it was a real valuable lesson for me, because sometimes it isn't just about things being touchy-feely, although that's important. What I really learned is that sometimes it's something in me that just I need to activate and I need to practice and I need to really make sure that I'm doing, because it was certainly really important in that circumstance. So that was my recent experience with with tenderness. Yeah.
Go ahead, Chris.
Denise, that's such a beautiful story. Really. I'm so grateful you shared it, because part of what I was going to share about tenderness today is that it does take a kind of inner resilience to be able to choose to be tender, to allow, both the others have spoken about the vulnerability that's part of tenderness. Definitely kind of is a root system for tenderness. And I think there's a saying that it takes a lot of strength to be gentle. Yeah. It takes a lot of strength to be able to express the tenderness rather than to be reactive. And there's so much that causes a resonance to react in the world that we live in these days. And yet, if we can learn to resonate with the vulnerability, I think that creates a change that's very deep and lasting, because it's rooted in love. And we know that love is the only energy that heals. So I love this about tenderness, in that it's not only causes a wonderful melting, but it also enables us to deepen into our own awareness of that inner resilience that we have in times of, let's say, choice. You know, there's a couple things I remember. Part of our program is learning the sacred movements of Tai Chi in the form of prayer. And I thought, there's no way on earth I'm going to be able to do this. There's no way on earth. I have 2 new hips and blah, 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 blah. And then I was like, wait a minute, just figure out how to do it the way the teacher says, just honor your body. So honoring my own vulnerability and my sense of humor, I've been able to move into these mostly off-camera movements in order to express the tenderness toward my own physical body, which is not something I grew up with, you know, how we're all supposed to just charge through. But I think it's been a wonderful lesson for me to turn that awareness to my own body when I'm so aware of it for other people. So I'm grateful that came around for me. And that's a good test of my sense of humor as well. So
One of the things I heard in your story, Denise, which was so touching, is that ability to move into compassion for the whole situation. And it took you to a deeper place of understanding that it wasn't just about the couch, you know, the compassion you had there. And then the tenderness in sharing that. Yeah.
It was beautiful to see how Alan resonated with that and could just then become tender himself and allow the tears.
He definitely did. And he looked at me and he said, thank you for not telling me I told you so. Thank you. I mean, honestly, thank you for, and I said, and then he said, I'm just going to give up the whole idea. And I said, no, honey, we're going to find that couch. And I went in and I went online and I found something, and it's downstairs. His room is all set. And, you know, it all worked out, but it was a great lesson.
As well, Denise, when I heard it, like, I was thinking, isn't it like, you know, the way, because that would be my default thing as well, that if somebody, you know, if my daughter makes a mistake like that, the first thing I want to do is go down and say, oh, look what you did, or, you know, and like the person has already given themselves a hard time.
Exactly.
That's nearly the first thing you want to do, you know, but the way, like, we have this opportunity to just like freeze the moment and step into a new action, you know, like the compassion and tenderness that you brought, as we learn in the practitioner program how to do, and that you could just switch it and create this whole other world. I mean, that's really what it's about, isn't it? That's what it's about.
Yeah. I am wondering, for those watching, if you could share one word in the chat about your experience when someone offered tenderness to you. What was that like for you? How did that change things for you? I think about, you know, children, and just if you think about some of the really difficult moments in your life, can you imagine how they would have been different if someone just offered you tenderness, like Denise just shared, like all of us have been sharing about? Can you imagine what a difference that would have made? I think that's the opportunity with tenderness. And so Chris started a little bit sharing about this, but I'd like to expand. What does it mean to be tender to yourself? Not everyone at once. I guess everybody.
I thought you were talking to the people online.
It's probably the one that most of us struggle with the most.
Yeah, exactly. For me, that's for sure the most difficult part of tenderness.
Yeah, well, there's a gentleness, I think. For me, I think that's again, with a choice, there's a gentleness to move. For example, in music, you can have a march or you can have a lullaby, an easy ballad. You can choose the speed or the vibration that you want to experience and then do it. I mean, and that's what we're learning in the program, because I wasn't aware of that before the program. But it's definitely a matter of choosing, for me, a matter of choosing how am I in a setting, and how does that help? How does that assist? How does that bring awareness to not only to me, if the setting is very strident or static, do I want to get into that and resonate with that? Or can I shift my own being into a calmer place whenever possible and resonate with the higher frequency of, that sounds a little strange, but it's true, the higher frequency of tenderness, of moving into understanding, of moving into, oh boy, this is rough. I can feel the roughness in somebody. So tenderness can go into the feelings and bring an awareness of that gentleness, that touch, that's a vibration, like this simple touch on the side of your face that I experienced with Saima, which was profound, and I can still feel it. So there's a sweetness and a gentleness that can happen when we're aware.
Yeah, I've I experienced that also with Saima as well, that touch on the face during an energy session. In being really vulnerable here, you asked about what we do. I mean, expressing tenderness toward ourselves. When I was growing up, my mother was quite harsh, and there weren't really a lot of kind things that were said. And so a lot of repatterning for me has been me recreating the way that I speak to myself. And so, the term inner child, I've named my inner child Honey, and I call her that. So if I start to feel upset with myself or something, I will stop and say, Honey, it's okay. It's okay. And I literally will grab my own face, and I will. And over time, I don't hear that nasty voice anymore. I mean, it's taken a number of years and it's taken practice, but it has been a repatterning. So now I just automatically think that. And I think that kind of self-talk, being tender, the way that we speak to ourselves is critical in being able to be that way with other people. So that's, yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if people online can relate to that too, having a critical parent or a critical caregiver growing up, and then that almost became your own inner critic.
Absolutely.
I certainly can.
Yeah.
And I love that, Denise, because that's really a practical tip and tool too. It's like, okay, I'm going to become aware that this is happening in my mind, that these thoughts are happening, and I'm going to shift them. And sometimes, there's deeper work to do there.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I think that that's really a practical tool that, if somebody wants to try that, really become aware. Become aware of what you say to yourself. Become aware of the way you speak to yourself. And if it is, you're finding it too harsh, work with the energy of tenderness toward yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. That's a really great practice, Denise. Yeah. Dale, you look like you want to say something.
Yeah, I was gonna kind of add on to that, thinking that I remember Diane saying at one point, she's one of our advanced Magdalenas, and how she recognized that the way she was speaking to herself, she would never speak to anyone else that way, and so stopping and remembering that, what are you doing to yourself here? You would never talk to someone else like that in this situation. So
Yeah.
like you say, becoming aware and tapping into your natural tenderness, and going into your heart and having that for yourself.
Yeah, and in our practitioner program, the first year Magdalena practitioner program, our whole first module, which is several months, is really dedicated to, we have different tools used to shift energies. So as I'm thinking about this conversation too, it's like our program actually offers an avenue to access more tenderness to ourselves too. Because if you think of like yourself and the energy of tenderness, oftentimes there's things in between, like, words or energies or experiences from growing up. And in our practitioner program, we offer specific tools to kind of move some of those things out of the way. So accessing the qualities, especially this one of tenderness toward ourselves, become easier, maybe not natural until you start implementing some of the things that Denise was talking about. So yeah, if you're interested in our practitioner program at all, we have a new program starting in March. And we have, if people are interested and sign up before the end of the year, we're actually offering a discount. So more to come. You should be receiving information about that practitioner program, but if you want any more information, just type it in the chat and one of us can be in communication with you. So I think we're almost out of time, but I have one last thing I'd love to present. Actually, I'm gonna do something that is unplanned. I'm wondering if any one of the panelists today wants to, for 2 or 3 minutes, offer us like a meditation, moving us into the energy of tenderness.
I'd love to.
Oh, thank you, Chris. And yes, please.
Okay. All right. So everybody just take a moment to relax and become aware of your breath. They say it's a gift. Each breath is a gift of the Divine Mother. So opening your heart and maybe even bringing your hands to your heart if you're comfortable with that. Allow your awareness to go to your breath. And in that awareness, take a very gentle, deep breath right into your heart. And just rest there for a second. And then release the breath in a gentle, easy way, almost as a blessing out into the whole place where you are. And guess what? Then let's take another deep and gentle breath, aware of the feeling of the breath, the feeling of the air in the nose, the feeling of the expansion of the lungs at your own speed. Just continue breathing with a gentle pattern and feel your muscles supporting your breathing. And be a little grateful for your muscles, grateful for your breath, and a moment of gratitude for who you are today. Another gorgeous, deep, and gentle breath, deepening out of all the chaos and all the thoughts and all of that. They just float off. You don't need them now. And then exhaling gently, picturing yourself maybe holding a baby or a puppy or a kitten or a brand new tiny little plant, and feeling that softness and that openness in your heart for the being that you're holding. And with another breath, allow yourself to feel that it's you that you're holding with a beautiful tenderness, with a kindness, with a softness, and with a strength that maybe you didn't know you had before. Because tenderness in each breath brings us strength. And strength brings more tenderness, just like inhale and exhale. You breathe in this tenderness, and filled with that, you're stronger and more resilient. and quieter and calmer and deeper. And there in the depth is love. So enjoy your breath. Enjoy your tenderness. Enjoy you, who are love. Namaste.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
I ask or the opportunity to bring that tenderness to your life, to your people. Just this energy that's so present right here, right now, throughout the holiday season, throughout the remainder of this month, and really for as long as you wish. And I think it's a perfect way to end it there. Thank you all so much for joining, and we'll see you next month. And please, continue to follow us on social. We'll have lots more about this quality.